Hello, everyone, and welcome to another very special edition of our Foundation for Free Enterprise Education's Speaker Series. My name is Scott Lee, and today it is my great pleasure to have with us Lieutenant Colonel Bill Koehle. Bill is from the United States Marine Corps, and he is here to share with us a bit about his Marine career and walk us through the highly competitive appointment process for the United States Naval Academy. He'll also share some of his personal recollections of life as a Marine and why he chose the Marine Corps above all other branches of the service. I could not be more honored that he took the time with us today. So let's dive right in. Welcome, Bill. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, Scott. It's a real pleasure to have a chat with you again.
Oh, great. Hey, listen, let's talk about first, how'd you get started in the Marines? Why the Marines? What was the process? Explain how you got involved.
Well, it's a reflection on my age. I'm a Vietnam era veteran. I was in college during that conflict. I was coming up on graduation in 1971 from the University of Pittsburgh. And of course, for old timers who remember, we had the draft lottery, and I was about halfway up the list. So I knew I was going. I was in Army ROTC at the time. Didn't really appeal to me. One of the RAs at Pitt talked to me about a Marine career, and I said, yeah, that sounds more to my liking. I applied for officer candidate school, did the paperwork, went through MEPS, the physical, and spent 12 weeks at Quantico. Very grueling experience, and got commissioned, and one thing led to another, and never expected to stay 30 years. It was going to be my 4 years in and out and done, but grew to love it and stayed.
All right. Now you mentioned MEPS. What exactly is MEPS? Heard of it before, but don't know.
Well, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's the physical processing. You go there and the doctors check you, and it's a whole panel of doctors. It's internalists, x-rays, vision, lungs, heart. They just want to make sure you're physically fit and ready to go.
Great. So you mentioned something interesting. You said you were in Army ROTC, and that really wasn't doing it for you, but yet somebody told you about the Marines, and you thought that was appealing. What was the difference?
Well, I don't want to disparage other services. At Pitt, you had the chance to either take ROTC, they had Air Force and Army at the time, or take phys ed courses. And phys ed courses at Pitt were way up the hill, Cardiac Hill we called it, where the old stadium used to be.
Yep.
Did not want to walk up that hill in the wintertime. I took 2 years of ROTC. I was not very impressed with the caliber of young men they were commissioning as Army lieutenants. I thought, well, if I'm going to have to go, I want to go with somebody that's a little more professional and prepared. And I had a high opinion of the Marine Corps, and an uncle in World War II in the Marine Corps. I had scoutmasters that were Marines in World War II, so it was just kind of a natural fit.
Great. So talk about your early days in the Corps. Did you go to boot camp? What was that experience like? Did you ever think about giving up? I mean, talk me through those early days.
I thought about giving up almost nightly. The officer candidate school, as I mentioned, was in Quantico, Virginia. It's right next to the Amtrak railroading station in line that goes from Washington down to Florida. And a couple times a day that train would go by, and you'd see all those passengers going to Florida. You think, well, why aren't I on that train? But anything worth having is worth striving for, and I wasn't going to quit. They told us the first night we were there, they said, look to your right, look to your left. Those two guys aren't going to be with you when you graduate. And they were right.
Wow.
Very grueling physically and mentally, but I was determined to stick it out.
Good for you. Yeah, go ahead.
From there, it was a 12-week program. Once you're commissioned, all Marine officers go to what we call the basic school. It's another 6 months of learning basic infantry skills and many other skills. Also at Quantico, much more academic than OCS. And then you get the opportunity to pick the military specialty that you'd like to be. I chose combat engineers.
Okay.
And from
Cool.
there, you get sent on to your professional school, which was at Camp Lejeune. I went to engineer school there. And then I got sent to my first unit, also at Camp Lejeune.
Okay. Wow. That's quite the progression there. So talk about, you were commissioned as a second lieutenant and
Right.
you've progressed all the way through to lieutenant colonel. Talk about that progression. How did you advance in rank? What was required of you? Maybe give some people some tips on, how to succeed in a military career.
Well, the old axiom is don't volunteer for anything. And I believe that that's incorrect. I think most of the opportunities I had in career progression and skill development was as a result of volunteering. So I volunteered for all kinds of off-the-wall assignments whenever I could. And it led to some wonderful things. That during my active duty time, the best was we were working at Paris Island, my engineer company, and I had to come back to Camp Lejeune for a court martial, not mine. It was testifying. And my former commanding officer comes running out of the battalion headquarters and says, "Bill, would you like to go to Europe?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So I volunteered for that. I got assigned to a Marine amphibious unit. I was deployed in the Mediterranean for 6 months on board ship. Wonderful experience. Got to visit a lot of countries. Again, developed some skills that certainly were not usable in the civilian world. As it turned out, very valuable later on in my Marine career.
Great.
So volunteering is one thing. Professional development is key too. I took correspondence courses all the way through my career for each grade level I was at. Amphibious warfare skill, command and staff skill, school, and so on. And always prepared myself for the next rank through reading and professional development.
Great. So you mentioned you were on a ship. I mean, most people don't understand or don't think that Marines spend a lot of time on the ship or that the Marines are closely tied to the Navy. Can you explain that relationship between the Marines and the Navy?
I don't know if you've been watching the news here the last 2 or 3 days. There's a big fire in San Diego right now. The Bonhomme Richard, it's a LHD. It's a helicopter carrier, and it's essentially a giant bus for the Marine Corps. About 1,200 Marines could deploy on that with their accompanying air squadron, mostly helicopters, but we are putting F-35s on board some of these ships as well. But they're deployed a couple places around the world to be a force in readiness if something happens. And something usually does happen all the time. It happened when I was out there in '74. Greece and Turkey went to war over Cyprus, and we evacuated a number of civilians from Cyprus and took them, of all places, to Lebanon for their safety. But you never know when something is going to brew up, and we're there to be ready for it.
Excellent, excellent. So today, Bill, you've had a 30-year career, and today you keep active in it. You serve as a blue and gold officer. Tell our viewers exactly what the blue and gold officer program is, what you do, and how it affects people.
Well, the United States Naval Academy and the other services have similar positions, the Army and the Air Force. Very competitive schools to get into. In a typical year, I will have maybe 15 to 18 students assigned to me from the Northwest Pennsylvania area. I have two counterparts up here in Northwest Pennsylvania as well. They get a similar number. And we mentor them in what kind of things they need to do, should be trying to achieve to become competitive, because it's less than 1 in 14 applicants get selected. So you've got to be at the top of your game if you want to get into the Naval Academy or any of the service academies. As well as mentoring towards the end of the application process, we also do a formal interview with them and give the Naval Academy our estimation of their potential as a Marine or a naval officer. And that's not the overriding thing, but it's really, we're the only eyes that the Naval Academy has to actually see these people. So that is an important part. I've had some good years. I've had some bad years. This year I had an excellent year with some, strangely enough, all young ladies this year, which a lot of people aren't aware of, that there's a significant number of females that go to the academies. But we make sure that they're staying on target, that they meet their goals as far as getting the application paperwork done, and very important as well is to get their nomination applications into their congressman or senator.
Great. In that light, can you walk us through, let's say someone was really interested, one of our viewers is really interested in going in, trying to apply for the Academy. Can you walk us through, the basic steps, Bill, and what's important? I mean, is it all about grades? Is it all about physical fitness? Is it, extracurricular activities? What are the things that the Naval Academy is looking for, and how do you walk people through this whole process?
Well, all the service academies are looking for the whole person. They're looking at career people. They hopefully that once you get through the academy and serve your initial obligation, you're going to stay, because it's a huge investment that they're making in you. So they're looking to have people that have the potential to serve 15, 20 years down the road. So it is a whole person point of view. So it's very important at a relatively early time in your academic career, maybe by late sophomore year, that you're thinking about this. You want to be involved in a lot of extracurricular activities in leadership positions, not just be a team member, but try to be a leader. Same with sports. If you're involved in athletics, you want to be a team captain, show leadership skills there. You want to be involved in activities outside of school. My very first candidate that was accepted a number of years ago was an Eagle Scout. They love Eagle Scouts. And I don't know if the Girl Scouts have something similar. Boy Scouts are now poaching on the female population as well, trying to get girls into the Boy Scouts. But they love scouting. And something that I found is things you do during the summer, the extracurricular activities you do during the summer are a real differentiator. Obviously, I have a preference for Free Enterprise Week, but that's not the only route. There's American Legion Boys State. There's the Upward Bound type programs. There's a number of different types of things you do. Again, what the academies are looking for are people that step outside their comfort zone, step outside the box that they're normally stuck in school, and do things. You mentioned earlier the grades. Grades are very important. The biggest disappointment I had this year is I had an excellent candidate. She checked off all the boxes except SAT scores. She's just one of these students that just couldn't do well in SAT scores. There's tutoring programs out there, Khan Academy and others that'll help you develop those test-taking skills. Take those tests early, take them often, and keep doing better. Physical fitness is very important, whether you're an athlete or not. Part of the application process is a physical fitness test, so you got to be in very good shape. All the academies require you to participate in some sort of athletics once you're there, whether it's a D1 sport or club sports or intramural, but you are expected to participate in that. So all of those things are important. Reading. I find that another differentiator are the people that read and the people that don't read. People that don't read don't have intellectual curiosity. And you can't stop learning in any career. So develop a habit of learning and reading outside the classroom.
That is great advice, Bill. Let's look at this Do you have a number that you're looking for from an SAT score? I mean, I know that I don't want to pigeonhole you, but is there a certain number below which you'll never even get a look, or what do you need?
Probably below 600, both, you're not going to get a shot.
Okay.
The closer you get to 800 in both, obviously you're a shoo-in. One candidate I had from Mercyhurst this year, outstanding basketball player, but she was also very close to 1600 in her SATs. So, I mean, she's double dipping there. Great academics, great physical skills. I think 3 different academies were after her, and luckily she took the Naval Academy. But she's a great candidate.
Good for her. So let's turn this back around toward you a little bit, Bill. I mean, talk about some of the greatest parts about being a Marine. Maybe some highlights of your service. Tell us what serving your country meant to you.
Well, that's a pretty open-ended question, Scott.
It is.
There's a lot of facets to that. One thing I've been thinking about since you and Amber sent me the questions is one experience that sticks out in my mind. I was in the IRR, the Individual Ready Reserve, in 1991. I was not with an organized unit at that time. I got called back to active duty for Desert Storm in 1991. I was out at Camp Pendleton doing training in case they needed to send us over to Southwest Asia. And former President Reagan came to speak to us. And what a chill went down my spine to be able to sit there in the bleachers and listen to the president. I actually got to shake his hand. It was a wonderful experience. Wow. But a little broader than that, that's a real tight, narrow perspective, is it's, and this is something I try to get across to the youngsters I talk to about going to service academies. It's you don't do this for a sense of adventure or because you got a comic book perspective on what it's like to be in the service. I had a kid that I asked him, "Why do you want to go to the Naval Academy?" He says, "Oh, I want to drive a ship." Well, that's not good enough. That's not really good enough. Or I want to be a SEAL. Well, no, that's maybe that's where you'll end up, but that's not why you join. It's service. It's a vocation. You're there to serve your country, obviously. More importantly, as a young officer, you're there to serve the young men and women that are entrusted to your care. So you have to have that dedication to service. And it's so rewarding. I think you and your staff get that sense of satisfaction dealing with the young people. You're serving them through Free Enterprise Week. And the eye-opening experience that is very fulfilling. Bringing these young people along as young Marines or young sailors, helping them develop their skills, helping them mature, helping them become better leaders in their own right, very fulfilling thing. Going on from that, some of the other things that are great about it is the camaraderie, the friendship that you develop. I have 2 friends going back to that very first night in Officer Candidate School. We sat us down and we had to write letters home. Oh, I didn't have a stamp, and I turned to this guy and says, "Do you have a stamp?" And he gave me a stamp. We're still friends today. In fact, I was just looking at his Facebook page yesterday, where he just has a serious illness that he recovered from. But 40, 50 years later, you're still in touch with these guys. Another very good friend of mine from Officer Candidate School stayed on as a career officer, flew helicopters. In Desert Storm, he got the Navy Cross, the nation's second highest honor. And I'm thinking to myself when I learned that, I says, what did he do? What stupid thing did he do? He's my buddy. He's not a hero, he's my buddy. And what he did was, it was deserving of the award, but you develop those friendships. And even if they're not your friends, you run across another Marine. It's like I told you earlier, you start swapping sea stories and go for hours because there's that brotherhood.
Yeah.
It's very good. And then you asked about other experiences, the travel, going all over the world. I've had the opportunity to go all through the Med. I was on a NATO exercise in the 80s. I got to go through Scandinavia. Just a wonderful experiences like that stick with you. You know, most people, especially young people, don't get those opportunities.
Yeah. But to your point, Bill, you said it earlier, you have to be, it's almost like you have to be called to this, and you have to forego the personal gain for the professional sacrifice, not only to the Corps, but to your country. You have to be fully invested in this thing. You can't just do it on a whim, or else it isn't going to work out, too well for you.
Well, that's so true, Scott. There's 40, 45, 50 of us in our OCS class when we started, and I think we graduated 27.
Wow.
The others just didn't have that fire in their belly, and that's what I'm looking for in young people that want to go to a service academy, is the fire in their belly, because they're going to run into experiences and circumstances that it's not fun. And it's not pleasant, and it's not comfortable. And you've got to have something besides what's in it for me in order to get through that.
Great advice. Great advice. So, Bill, I literally could talk to you all day, but as we wrap this whole thing up, here's your chance. I know you're not going to slam any of the other any other branches of the service, but if I'm sitting there as a young person, I'm thinking, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, Reserves. Why the Marines?
Why the Marines? I think I had a young son that was in the Air Force, and after he graduated from his basic training, I says, "What's the birthday of the Air Force?" Now this is the day after he graduates from his basic training. What's the birthday of the Air Force? No idea. You can ask any Marine what the birth date of the Air Force is, or not the Air Force, but of the Marine Corps, and they're going to tell you it's November 10th. And I started asking, well, why is that street there at Lackland Air Force Base? Why is it named that, or who's this guy that this was? No idea. You go to a Marine base and I think it's Basilone Avenue or Puller Avenue. Any Marine can tell you what that's all about. We've got. It's in our blood. It's almost like a religion, or probably a better word, a cult. We all drank the same Kool-Aid, and we talk that way about our company advisors drinking the Kool-Aid. We all had that shared experience, whether it's boot camp or officer candidate school. We all learned to revere the same heroes and the same military exploits, and it becomes just part of our culture. We have a culture. I guess that's the short answer, Scott. We have a culture. And I don't think the other services necessarily have a culture. They have different communities within their service, but there's not really one culture, a Navy culture, an Air Force culture, an Army culture. There is a Marine Corps culture.
That's very key. So, explain to our viewers. We've heard it on, TVs, movies, and all that kind of stuff, and it gets played a lot. But tell us, from your perspective, Bill, what does Semper Fi or Semper Fidelis mean to you?
Well, the Latin, the Semper Fidelis, means always faithful, and it means that we don't back down. We don't leave our fallen on the battlefield. The classic example is our withdrawal from the Chosin Reservoir in the Korean War. We brought all our dead and wounded with us. We brought all the Army dead and wounded we found along the way with us as well. You don't leave a brother or sister today behind on the battlefield. And we're there as our nation's force and readiness. We're the first to fight. We're the door kickers. So we're ready for that, and we're expected to fulfill that.
Well said. Bill, I wish we had more time. I could talk to you all day about this. From a personal standpoint, thank you so much for serving our country, for your dedication, but more so, thanks for being such a great friend to Pennsylvania Free Enterprise Week, to our foundation, to me personally, our staff. It's just a pleasure to know you and to watch what you do for our young people. We're so very grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever want to get in touch with Bill, his contact information will appear at the end of this. If you want to talk to him about anything about the Naval Academy or any of the service academies, he is so willing to help you out. He can walk you through the process. He can help you with your decision. That's all he wants to do, is make you better. So please, I encourage you to reach out to him. Bill, once again, on behalf of all of us at the Foundation, thank you so much for everything. This was a great conversation.
Thank you, Scott. It was my pleasure.
All right. Be well, Bill.
Right.